Welcome to the show. I'm Nick Gromicko. Today I'm with my good friend Mike Crow. He's from Millionaire Inspector Community. He's going to teach us about marketing. Mike, thanks for being on the show.
Nick, thanks for having me.
The housing market right now, it's pretty soft.
It is a little
soft. The inspection industry become nothing more than just a marketing race at this point? Is marketing really important right now?
You know, that's pretty insightful, Nick. Marketing race would be a good way to take a look at that. You've got to understand marketing, and you've got to make sure that you're doing it. This is a critical time to make sure you're doing it right.
A lot of our really excellent technical inspectors have gone out of business this year. Mm-hmm. And when I've called them and asked them why, they said they couldn't compete with other guys who are better at marketing in this soft market.
Right, and there's a lot of basics that they just need to know to put into place. And sometimes inspectors have this tendency, because we come from the technical side, to buy into the fact that, hey, if we just do a good inspection, we're going to have all the business we need. And it's a lie.
Okay, what can you do to help our members?
Well, I brought a number of different things for us to talk about, and we can go a lot of directions. I can tell you about what one of our members is doing out of Houston. He's created a postage stamp marketing program, and he's used it a couple of times, and a lot of our Dream Team members are using it across the nation.
Postage is going up.
Postage is going up. That's exactly right. So that means you have an opportunity now to make you look good and to help your referral-based agents and look good.
Can you tell us what it is?
Basically, it's a very, very simple thing. You know, anytime you put a marketing piece in somebody's hands, how long is it going to stay there? I mean,
not long.
Right. You know people that stand there, like agents that stand there and they pull the mail out of their box and it's going into the trash just as quick as they can take it, right?
Right.
So if you could pay 20 cents, 50 cents, you know, and if they were willing to hold on to it, probably for months. And so what Gordon Fox did, by the way, Gordon Fox is been one of our Platinum Plus members. He's one of our Dream Team members. He's just done a great job. He went from 4 inspectors to 10 inspectors.
Wow. And
he grew last year, I think he grew 26% in revenue last year when everybody was falling apart. So pretty amazing guy.
That is.
And I love having people like Gordon part of our team. But what he did was he went into the post office, basically. And postage is going up, what, a whole 1 cent, I think, or something like that.
Right.
So not a lot. So what he did was buy a lot of 1 cent stamps.
Which people need.
Which people are going to need. Postage goes up around May 13th, and so what he's doing is he's buying like 40-cent stamps, tearing them in half, and then he puts a letter with it sometimes, and then he puts a label on the back of it. And the label says something like, hey, the post office is doing it again on May 13th. Didn't they just raise postage rates? And then he has a little bit about, here's these stamps to help keep you from having a problem and making sure that you can, you know, put them to use. And so when you put the other postage on there, now you have this one to add to it, and you can continue to use your old stamps.
So half a sheet of 40-cent stamps, that's 20 cents. Isn't that just throwing away 20 cents on everybody?
Yeah, and that's what I hope everybody's thinking, okay? Because then when my guys use it and the agents have that 20-cent piece of paper laying around with my name on it all the time, and my competition is running around out there thanking God that they didn't spend the 20 cents per that agent, I love my competition.
Because they're not going to throw away 20 cents.
No, they won't. I mean, me and you, when we were kids, we used to collect Coke bottles. And I would keep a Coke bottle for a long time because it was worth a nickel or 10 cents.
Right.
Somebody's not going to throw away worth 20 cents of stamps. And so every time they open their drawer or open a file, they're going to see those stamps again, and it has my name on it every single time.
And it's 21-cent stamps?
Yeah, 21-cent stamps.
I think they'd be more likely to throw away 20 cents than 21-cent stamps.
Exactly. They'd be willing to throw away a piece of candy or even a candy bar that costs 25 cents quicker than they'd be willing to throw away these stamps because they have a use, they have a purpose. And so it's kind of a cool thing.
And they have real value.
Right. One of the things I wanted to try to do, actually, Nick, because you understand the importance of marketing and your members understand the importance of marketing, but they got to put the pieces together right.
Right.
So I had my team actually put a website together specifically for your guys with all of the pieces so that they don't miss any piece of the puzzle of putting this together.
All the pieces of this 21-cent stamp marketing program.
Right. So the postage marketing system, we've got it all on a website, and we're going to set it up so that your guys can go out and get it. You tell them where, and we'll go from there. But it's very simple. They got to know who their target market is, though. They've got to know how to set it up, what the sticker looks like that you want to put on the back to make sure that they're getting full credit for it on a regular basis. how to present it to them, even to make sure that they're working it through properly.
And this is basically what you do at Millionaire Inspector Community?
Yeah, this is like one of about 150, 250. We kind of take a look at it as a Chinese buffet. We give our guys so many different marketing techniques. They walk in just like we would walk into a Chinese buffet, and you get this or you get that. There's no way you can eat it all, but that also means there's no way all your competitors, even if they're part of our team, could use the same thing as much as you do.
Right, so even two guys that are in your program are probably using different marketing techniques.
They most certainly are.
And it's working for both of them.
Yeah, it is, and it's helping them really grow their market, grow their business, build relationships with the agents and other people. I mean, one of the things we'll talk about at another point maybe, but there are so many different markets they need to go after. They focus on the real estate agents, so that's why I'm talking about it this time.
Sort of old school.
Yeah,
sort of.
And you know what? The real estate agents, they're really the low-hanging fruit here. They have more control and can send you more business faster than anybody else. So why not take advantage of that and help them in the process as well? When you make them look good, they're going to want to recommend more business to you.
What about plain old brochures? Are they a waste of money? Do people just throw them in the garbage?
Well, for most inspectors, it is exactly that. It's a complete waste of money.
I know a lot of brochures unsell.
Yes, and you heard me say it earlier, but I love my competition because they live in the past. I remember, I've been in this business 20 plus years, and I'm a second-generation home inspector. I even have a son that's a third-generation home inspector. But the thing in the past was we had to convince people they needed to have an inspection. And we developed brochures to accomplish that, and we did a very good job at that. But that's not the message today.
We don't need to keep selling that same old message.
No. I mean, in the real estate contracts, the real estate agents a lot of times are required to even say, hey, you may wish to get a home inspection on this.
So telling people why they need a home inspection
is a waste of money.
A waste of precious ad space.
Right. It's a waste of, yeah, you're exactly correct. It's a waste of ad space. We need to use that ad space for something a lot more effective. And generally that is, why do I need to choose you now instead of someone else? Otherwise, the problem is the inspectors all start looking like commodities. What a waste of money. And then the only difference is what? Price? Yeah. And that means the low price guy wins. What a truly waste of our resources, right? So there's a number of things that we teach our guys now to put in their brochures that when you do this, it's going to immediately start increasing the number of inspections you can book.
It makes them stand out from the guy who's just open up his brochure and it says why you should have a home inspection.
Yeah, I love what's the most famous line? You're buying the most precious or the largest financial investment you'll probably ever make, so you want to make sure you get a home inspection on it. Yeah, gag, But I every time I go into an office, I pick up a brochure, there it is. Somebody's got
pick
it
up
in
10 brochures, they all have it.
They all have it, And same thing, by the way, with websites. And your website is no more different than a brochure online.
Right.
But we tell them that you've got to have some different things on your websites. So guess what the first thing everybody wants to put at the top of their brochure?
What?
Their name. Another completely useless piece of information. Boy, don't you think they hate to hear that.
Right.
Wait a second, that's my company name. That's important.
Oh, their ugly logo.
Yeah, it's absolutely useless. What they really need to do is, if they're going to put something on their brochure, they need to put like a headline. People read newspapers because there's a headline that draws them into the story. If you have a headline at the top of your brochure, then it draws them into the brochure. It makes them go, ooh, why do I want to use that? And we teach our guys a lot of different types of headlines to use. The old peace of mind is a good one. I used that years and years ago, but now we've taken it slightly above that. And so the headlines is probably one of the most important pieces. Actually, let's see here. I actually brought a list. One of the other things that people don't put enough in their brochures?
What's that?
Pictures. Everybody just wants to write, and they open it up and people just like glaze over. Oh my goodness, all this writing.
Right.
And so pictures are worth 1,000 words, and the truth is they sell faster because of TV, because of movies. Even if you think about U.S. Today, the newspaper, it was designed to look like and feel like a TV. And so your brochure needs to feel a little like that. And so the pictures is probably one of the most important pieces that you put in there.
Hence this show. Pictures work.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. This show's a great example. And inspectors are not using pictures near enough. I know some inspectors that still don't even put pictures in their reports. And they're in serious trouble if they don't realize how important the pictures are. Now, the most important thing on the whole brochure is something that people have a tendency to either put like in one place or make really small, and the people have to go hunting for it if they want it, and that's their phone number.
If they remember to.
If they, yeah, you know. If you were to look at my brochures and look at my members' brochures, my phone number is on the front. When you open it up, it's on the inside. When you close it, it's on the back. So my number is in all three places. And it's easy to read, it's very straightforward, and I put a little phrase in the front of it that'll give me a lot more activity. People actually are very good at following directions if you'll just tell them what to do next. And so you got to make sure you want to tell them. So I say, call now to schedule, or call now, or call today, or something, so that we can try to get that in there for them.
So a brochure is pretty important.
You know, brochures didn't used to be as important as they are now. Real estate agents used to have a list. Here's a list of the home inspectors.
Right.
But because home inspectors are turning over so fast out there, I go to a lot of shows with real estate agents and loan officers. The real estate agents are telling me now that they'll do one of two things. One is either they'll hand out like one card, which the really truly good agents will do.
Right.
Or what they'll do is they'll go out and they'll go, okay, well, let's see, here's a brochure, here's a brochure. No, I don't like that guy. Here's a brochure. Or, oh, well, I can't use that guy because he doesn't do such and such. And then they'll go back to their client and say, here's 3 of the guys that I know that are,
right,
you know, pretty good, and a lot of people use it.
A lot of agents now hesitate to actually put the names of the inspectors they like on their letterhead for fear of negligent referral lawsuits.
Yeah, it's a shame, but you're absolutely correct.
They'd rather hand out the brochures.
They'd rather hand out brochures because then they just, hey, I just picked up some brochures from the office.
I don't know where you got them.
Right, you know, and so you can go that direction. Now, if we're getting rid of the phrase like, you know, the home is your largest financial investment, you need to make sure you have an inspection, what do we replace that with? And that's the most important piece that inspectors are missing today. And there's something out there called unique selling propositions or unique selling points.
And I know a lot of people that contact me tell me they're having trouble filling up a trifold brochure.
Yeah, I have 3 pages here. What am I going to put here?
3 little columns and they can't fill it out.
Well, the pictures will help some with that,
right,
okay? But even like the words, sometimes the pictures can sell the wrong things. You put the wrong pictures in, that agent's never going to give that brochure to the client.
Right.
And you know as well as I do, the agents...
So no gas masks.
No gas mask, right.
In a crawl space.
Yeah, I was going to say no skull and crossbones, you know.
Right. I often see them with the big face mask and goggles and a white suit in a crawl space. I mean, it might be what they do on an inspection, but probably not what they should put in their brochure.
Man, I hope they don't even do it on an inspection, but yeah, I understand what you're saying. The agents want people that are upbeat, positive, and are willing to pass that message, that attitude along to the home buyers. You know, and as I had one inspector on one of my Dream Team calls today, he said, the thing that the agents like best about me is I could tell them they have to cut off their right foot to own this house. And they would go, oh, okay, I think we could do that, you know, because they say it the right way.
Right.
So the most important thing is putting in the USPs, though. The most important thing about USPs is making sure that you have some. See, most inspection companies don't have them.
And USP is unique selling
proposition or unique selling point. What makes you different than your competition? If there's no difference between you and your competition, well, I'm going to choose the guy that's got the lowest price, right?
Right.
Because that's the difference. What we want to do is make sure we're putting something in there, and you need to have like 4 USPs and that make you different from like 70 to 90% of your competition, and then you need like 1 USP that makes you different than like everybody else, if at all possible. And when you put all 5 together, nobody can touch you. And then price doesn't matter near as much. And so we teach them to put the USPs in there. For instance, some guys might have a warranty on their inspection. Wow, that'd be pretty impressive. So we put the warranty in there. Most inspectors are going, I don't warrant my inspection, you know. And so you love your competition when anytime your competition says, oh, I would never do that. That's probably a good sign that may be something. One of my guys this morning was saying, oh, I do free re-inspects. And 2 of the guys on the phone went, well, you don't get paid for that. I mean, that's like throwing money out the window. And he's going, yeah, I know. Isn't it great? You know, because the free re-inspect is something that the buyers want, and it helps the agents if he does it.
And a re-inspect is after something has been repaired, some major repairs been
Well, yeah.
undertaken.
And sometimes maybe no repairs have been done at all, but he does the inspection. He gives them the report. Maybe there's been a week, 2 weeks, maybe a month between the time he did the original inspection. So he can come in, he can check any of the repairs that were done, and he could also just check the major systems to make sure nothing's been wrong. We have some horror stories of a home that we inspected, and a month later people move in, and all kinds of things go wrong. I'm sure you've seen some of that yourself. So the USPs is the number one thing that you've got to make sure that really stick out. Your headline should probably have a USP in it. You should probably have USPs on the front, on the back, on the inside, all telling them what makes you different than everybody else.
What about a picture of yourself as the inspector?
You know, I like pictures, even of myself, and even though I help a local company, my picture's in the brochure, and yet I don't do any of the inspections. But I want them to know that there's a person standing behind the inspection process.
A well-dressed person. You're always well-dressed.
Absolutely. Someone that's professional.
When I found out you were coming on the show, I had to go get a jacket.
You know, I was wondering, you know, I was either going to have to dress down, you're going to dress up. But that's exactly the case. And, you know, the same thing is when I go do presentations at real estate offices. The question always is, well, Mike, do you wear a suit when you do that, or do you wear, you know, what you do on an inspection? And I wear a suit, and I bring an inspector, you know, so they can see what he looks like. But dressing is important. If you want to wear a T-shirt with your company name on it and shorts and an old baseball cap that's dirty, yeah, take a picture of that and put it in the brochure. I know my competition would just love that. Yeah, so and so that we just have to keep that important. So the USPs are important. You know, the problem is people use what I call, by the way, GSPs. And I never heard this term. I created it myself.
Okay.
It's a generic sales point. Okay?
Give me an example.
Well, you line 100 inspectors up against the back wall, and you say, everybody that's going to do a good quality inspection, please take a step forward. Now, out of the 100, 97 are going to take a step forward. The 3 are probably, you know, just not comfortable with themselves or new.
Right.
So, so everybody that will answer or return my phone call if I have questions, please take a step forward. Well, now you got, you know, almost again, everybody. Those are generic. Those are useless. And so what you got to do is make sure it's something that, it's a feature, it's a benefit. That's what a USP is that you want to make sure. Now, if I tell everybody that's standing out there at that 100, I say, you know, out of the 100 standing there, everybody that produces the report on site, please take a step forward. And how many do I lose? I lose probably a good 40%. Right. And it's amazing. So I'm differentiating myself. Now, by the way, if I deliver the report the next day, I would say anybody that's foolish enough to deliver the report on site, just stay where you're at. I want the guy that's willing to put the time and effort into producing the report and delivering it the next day when he's really got it down right. Then take a step forward. You got to sell it whichever way you go. Okay?
So these guys who use the word that they're a thorough inspector or an honest inspector
or a quality inspector,
yeah. they darn well better be.
Yeah,
that's
and
not really,
every one of us should be. And if you're not, then go back
that's
groceries.
That's not a USP at all.
That's not a USP. That's a GSP. It's a generic sales point. So you got to make sure, you know, if you say, okay, everybody that produces a report on site, and you also do a computerized report on site. You also have a summary page. You also have a color photos in your report. How many of those now are standing forward out of the 100? I'd be willing to bet you we probably have 30 out of the 100 that do all of those. And in my marketplace, the agents consider that like basics of basics.
Where is your marketplace?
I'm out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We have an inspection group that I work with there. I test all my marketing in, so I can kind of make sure I'm staying on top of it. It doesn't, you know, kind of like, I don't want to be the ivory tower guy that just says, oh, go do this. I want to be able to test it and say, here's the results we got from this.
And that company's doing well?
It's doing very well. We have four full-time inspectors and a couple part-time guys, and so it just continues to grow. It's a lot of fun. So after you get past those basics in my marketplace, now you got to really step it up. And so, is it the warranty? Is it the 200% guarantee that some of my guys put on their inspections? Is it the fact that they give them a safety check with their inspection? Whatever it is.
Can you explain the 200% guarantee?
Oh, that's a big one. And it's one of the ones that I taught years ago. By the way, remember I mentioned Gordon Fox earlier?
Right.
When I taught that, he was the first guy to go out and like do that immediately. I mean, he was like on top of it. The trick is implementing quickly, and Gordon does that. The 200% guarantee is, you know, we tell the buyers, if you don't like my inspection, then what we'll do is we'll not only give you all your money back, but we'll hire another inspector to come out and re-inspect the property. You know what my competition says? Oh my gosh, people are going to take advantage of you. They're going to abuse you.
They really don't, though.
You're going to lose money. You know how many 200% guarantees I've paid off on? 0.
Wow.
0. And I've been using.
You probably got a lot of work out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm talking to someone on the phone and I say, by the way, we have an absolutely complete 200% guarantee. Does that make them feel more comfortable with me? Does that make an agent feel more comfortable with me? An agent's got a top inspector she likes working with, but she'd really like to have a backup. And if you tell her, hey, we have a 200% guarantee, if you don't like us, we don't do a good job, we don't take care of your client, we don't produce like we say we're going to produce, we'll give you all your money back and then go hire the other guy. So it gives them a comfort level in choosing us or giving us the opportunity to work.
So brochures are pretty important.
Brochures are important, and what you put in them is important. We have like about 15 things. And one of the things we did for your guys as well is we charge about $300 to talk about those brochures and what we put in it. We set up a special brochure just for your guys so they can go get that information at
awesome.
an incredibly reduced rate.
And I always say that a brochure is particularly important to a home inspector because it's a little indication, a little test drive of what their report's going to be like.
Yes.
If their brochure is a piece of garbage,
right.
then it implies that their inspection report is going to be like that.
Right.
So your brochure almost has to be better than the quality of your report because it's a little sampling of it.
It's a good point. And if you do your brochure right and your report is one of your unique selling points, you can even put a kind of like a sample or the pictures of what your report looks like in there. It makes people feel comfortable as well.
So what else should my guys be putting in their brochures?
Well, you know, one of the things that inspectors a lot of times put in the brochure that's a good thing is the list of services they can provide. And yet the problem that they don't realize is if they don't provide certain services, they're going to get themselves hurt. Okay? For instance, I'm always amazed at the percentage of inspectors out there that do a home inspection, but hey, I don't do sprinkler inspections or I don't
right.
do swimming pool inspections. So when that agent walks over there, she picks up the brochure, she's going, oh, no, he doesn't do those. He doesn't even get a shot at the home inspection because
he doesn't do the ancillary inspections.
He doesn't do the other stuff. And by the way, which homes have the sprinkler systems, the swimming pools? The nicer ones, of course. And all of my guys have figured that out. They're adding those services very well. And so
environmental's real big now, too.
Environmental's big. You have to be careful how you present it because, again, you could scare the agent and different things.
Right.
But environmental is important. If you're saying you're doing a free mold inspection, could be a USP during the process, and it's a cursory inspection, that might be a good service to put in.
Might be a bad.
Could be bad also. Yeah. So
what about thermal imaging cameras, infrared cameras?
I like thermal imaging cameras, but I would try to set it up so that you give the customer an option, so that the agent can say yes or no, no, you don't need that. So it gives the agent.
And you could charge extra for it as well.
Absolutely. If you're going to buy a $10,000 camera, you ought to get paid something extra for it, or at least your inspection should be more expensive. It's a great USP, though. And if the agents are willing to, in your area, willing to buy into it, yeah, it'd really set you apart from everybody.
And probably make for good pictures inside your brochure.
It makes for some excellent pictures. The vast majority, like I said, I interview agents all the time too, and I talk with them and I ask them. The vast majority, I would say 70% plus, are just deathly afraid of the thermal imaging cameras. And so you got to be careful how you present it.
It's almost like they used to be deathly afraid of an inspection altogether.
Yeah, exactly. And so we need to slowly get them into understanding how that keeps them out of lawsuits, how that helps protect them, and a number of things.
Right.
Now, there's another thing that I would be willing to guarantee you that 90% of the guys do not put in their brochures.
What's that?
Testimonials. Okay? When was the last time you open up a brochure and it goes, hey, we worked with Bob. Oh, and then the problem is, you know what? Even if they put testimonials, they put the worst kind. Guess what kind of testimonials they put?
Anonymous ones.
Yeah, GSPs. Okay.
Right.
Oh, he did such a great, thorough job. I was
Bob
just
from Texas.
Yeah, exactly. You know, what a waste.
Nobody believes it.
Yeah, so nobody believes it. The most important things you can do about a testimonial would be like to put their full name. Okay, and put what city they really came from. And
right.
This works really well, by the way. See, I'm in the whole Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. I cover the whole area. So if I put one over here from Fort Worth, I put one over here from Dallas, I put one here from Arlington, or...
It also shows where you market, where you'll go.
It shows them I get around.
So that's that secondary benefit of actually describing where you're willing to work.
Right. So the most important thing you want in your testimonials is for it to say, you know, by receiving our report on site with the color photos and the summary page, it just allowed me to be able to make my decisions so much faster. So it just reinforces your USPs.
And with a good customer that you have a relationship with, you can almost author it for them and help them out.
You absolutely can. There's a lot of little tricks there.
Right.
And we have one guy that just does a great job out there. And he actually has a survey set up on his system. And he literally sets the question up so that, and I can tell you more about him at some point, but he's a very
So they
unique
can
character.
sign on to a pre-canned comment that he's already authored?
Right. Well, you know Russ Collio, right?
Yes.
With the Schedule Center?
Yeah.
Okay. Man, he sets it up so he gets them to say exactly what he wants them to say right on the survey. And then when he gets that one taken, he puts out a new one.
And of course, get permission from any of your clients to use their
Sure,
testimony
absolutely.
in the brochure.
And we can talk more about testimony at some point, how to get that, and how to get the permission. And the problem is, I hear a lot of guys go, "Oh, I can't get testimonials." They're just doing it wrong.
Right.
They're just doing it wrong. My son had a contest inside the company he was at one point. 97% of his clients gave him a testimonial.
Right.
You just got to set it up properly.
And the other thing is, if you don't get one, if a client refuses to give you one, that might be more important information than anything.
Yeah, it might tell you that you need to be a little more careful here.
Right.
Maybe they haven't gotten enough value out of your inspection yet.
Right, or maybe you're doing something on every inspection that 3% of your clients don't like.
Right.
So you need to know that.
Yeah, and I had someone recently say, you got to make a portion of the market mad at you out there. So if I'm making 3% mad, that's a pretty low percentage.
Right.
And so I don't worry about them too much. But I just want to make sure that they still felt like they got the value out of it.
And so post-inspection interviews and surveys are actually pretty important for a lot of other reasons.
Can be very important. And the best time, I'll tell you this one little trick here, the best time to get the testimonial is when you're at the inspection. There's
Right.
no time that they love you, trust you, more than that. And so you want to make
Should you get that in writing?
You bet. Yeah, right then at the time of the inspection. We set a whole process up.
And from a legal standpoint, it's almost like a deposition as well.
You bet.
You might need that later in court to show that your client was perfectly satisfied with you on the day of the inspection.
Yeah. A couple other things you can throw in your brochures that a lot of guys seem to miss, and is what area do you cover? If you cover the whole Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, well then, guy, I need to tell them that.
Right.
If you only cover, just the Scottsdale, Arizona area, and that's all we cover is Scottsdale, well, it's probably good to let them know that as well. And so that's an important factor. How far do you go? Most inspectors go further than their agents know. And so by putting it in there, it helps reinforce that.
So most clients and most agents don't know that you'll go very far from your home.
Exactly. Now, I have to tell you, every now and then this gets pushed. My son was asked the other day to fly to Georgia, from Texas to go do the inspection there.
Maybe a little bit out of his range.
A little bit out of his range, but, my dad always said, hey, we can be had, but we're just not cheap, So how much are we willing to pay for that? I know inspectors, by the way, that do that sometimes.
Right.
It's kind of fun. I probably wouldn't do it very much.
Well, maybe on a commercial building or something.
Yeah, exactly, especially when you got good dollars involved in it. We did do that with one of our inspectors at one point. Now, there's something else that most inspectors could be a good USP, and they won't do it because it'll cost them a little bit of money that they could put in their brochures that all of the clients nowadays are looking for.
What's that?
Credit cards. The vast majority of home inspectors don't take credit cards.
I see.
And so by doing that, now you give them one more reason to go, oh, yeah, I want to work with this guy because I can put it on my credit card. Because I get what? Frequent flyer points, or I get hotel points, or I get dollars back, or hey, I have a Disney card in my pocket that I usually carry, and I get Disney dollars back. When I went to Disney last time, I had about $3,000 of Disney dollars, okay? And we just bought tickets and everything with it. So people want to use credit cards. You just got to make it easy for them to do that. And so those are some of the major things you've got to put inside your brochure. And of course, like I said, we set up that website, and they can go out actually, and by the way, see my very first brochure years and years ago, then the one we did after that, and the one after that, and the one after that.
So we can see an evolution of brochures on your website?
Not only mine, but some of my top Dream Team members as well, so that they can put that in place. There is one other mistake I want to mention real quick that some people make with their brochure, is they try to serve or they try to reach out to too many people at the same time. I made this mistake early on. Knowing that a lot of my business came from the real estate agents,
right.
My brochures kept getting more and more and more addressing the needs of what the realtor would get out of it. And I actually had two agents at one point go, Mike, we like working with your company, we like working with you, but I can't give this brochure to my client because this brochure is directed to me. And so I went back and I created something, by the way, I call a rack card nowadays. I used to call it a 1/3 page flyer, but a rack card that had all the same things that have the brochure on it, and so that they would have something to hand out. So you got to try to make sure that your brochures aren't pointed toward the real estate agent as much.
Even though that's where they're going, that's not where they're targeted.
That's exactly right. And so you got to keep your marketing pieces separate. You got marketing pieces for the agents, marketing pieces for the buyers, and marketing pieces that the agents feel comfortable handing to the buyers. So those are some of the main things you've got to keep in mind with the brochures.
Mike, you operate Millionaire Inspector Community almost like a scientist, like a research project.
Well, and it really is, because I'm always testing new marketing ideas. It's kind of like we put a hypothesis together, all right, and then we go test it inside my companies and some of my dream teams, platinum.
See if it fails.
See if it works, see if it fails, see what we need to do to tweak it. We're working on a program right now, for instance, with one of our Platinum Plus members, and it's all about going after a certain type of the market. And so we're putting a whole series of tests together, and if it works out the way it's supposed to, then at the next year at the 3 Days of Secrets Revealed, then we'll be showing it to everybody so that they can go put it in their business.
And this is not the real estate agents? You're going after some other market?
It's completely, slightly, there's no agent involved in this one directly.
Right, and that's what inspectors should be doing.
Yeah.
Should be offering more services to more people.
It's exactly correct. And the problem is that, you know, some inspectors, as much as I said you want to go after the agents because it's the low-hanging fruit and because they control so much of the business, that shouldn't be your only marketplace.
And it's competitive at that level.
Well, it's not. Yeah, it's competitive. But also at some point, you know, what happens if the law changes and say agents now aren't allowed to recommend a home inspector? What are you going to do now? You know, they got that problem up in Massachusetts, which, by the way, the agents still recommend guys. So it's
buyer's agents have to be.
Yeah, you know, so it's.
I think we fought for an exception for buyer's agents and won it in Massachusetts.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that.
A buyer's agent has to be able to tell their client who the best inspectors are.
They're not doing their job otherwise. And so I'm glad to hear that you got that taken care of.
But it is true that a lot of agents these days won't mention an inspector at all.
Yeah.
By name.
So one of the things we did was we put together something. I tell inspectors that there's basically 3 parts to their business. You've got the pre-launch, which is like the whole part of the business before the phone rings or before you actually get out to the inspection. So what are you going to do in that before phase there to make sure that people want to call you and then actually schedule with you? So we call that the pre-launch. And then the launch segment is where you're out there doing the inspection and you're putting a rocket ship into space. And if you do that right, then everything works really well. If you don't do it right, well, we know what happens when you don't launch a rocket right, okay? It could be a mess. And then the best part of this whole thing is when you put a rocket ship into space, you could put it into orbit. Now, how much energy is required to keep a satellite in orbit?
None.
None, hardly. And so, but if you do the pre-launch right and you do the launch right, then you get to the orbit, which is working great. And so we take the whole process, and now that we break it down, we try to say, all right, what marketing techniques or systems do we need to put into the pre-launch? What do we need to put into the launch? What do we need to put into the orbit? And all of them are designed to do basically work at 3 things.
You really are a scientist.
I am, and I study.
A rocket scientist.
A rocket scientist, yeah. Well, you don't have to be a rocket scientist, but it helps, okay? You know, there's only 3 ways to increase revenue in your business. Only 3, and most people don't know it, and most people don't apply it. The problem is most people go after all new business. It costs twice as much and twice as long to get that business. And yet all their marketing is designed, I need to get a new buyer, I need to get a new buyer, I need to get a new buyer. And you've got to approach that completely different. So number 1 is go get new customers. And you know what? You still have to do that, just like you still want to go after the real estate agents. But that's not the only piece. The second part, I break it down into 2 pieces. You need to get paid more per inspection. And if you don't get paid what you're really worth, you're not going to stay in business.
That's all I talk about is trying to get these guys to raise their prices.
And always raise your prices. What I find is people feel so guilty about raising their prices that they're willing to add additional services a lot of times. So now they have something more unique, better to make sure that the whole process works good for them. And so, you know, to get more per inspection, first way is just, hey, just go raise your prices. You know, after our Platinum Plus meeting, I guarantee you after the 3 Days of Secrets Revealed, inspectors literally just go back and they raise prices.
And if you're charging enough, guys can afford to take your class, take education, buy better tools, do a better job, do fewer inspections per week. You almost have an ethical duty to charge more.
That's exactly correct. You know, look at it this way. When you look at your kids and your wife sitting around the table, you can feed them hot dogs, or you can feed them, you know, maybe something a little better. So it's up to you how you want your family to live. And so the second part of that, getting your more as much as you can per inspection, is the fact of adding additional services. You know, we talked about adding the sprinkler system. We talked about adding swimming pools. We added on termite inspections years ago. Anything you can add on that you can charge.
Water, well flow, septic, lead.
Septic, mold.
Asbestos, radon, mold, the whole works.
Right. And radon is a good one. I wish in Texas, in my area, radon is at so low levels that if I tried to add it, the agents would put me out of business.
Right.
But in other parts of the country, you simply pick up the phone, and when they ask about the home inspection and everything, you say, by the way, who's doing your radon inspection? Now, I learned that from one of the radon companies, so I got to give them credit for teaching me that marketing technique. So who's doing your radon inspection? And they go, oh, I don't know. Well, we can do it for you while we're out there.
A lot of my guys are too shy to add on additional inspections, but it's almost reckless not to in some cases, like with regard to radon.
It is, and their liability is increased a lot of times. If they didn't ask or even tell anybody or get anything signed saying we didn't do this while we were here, they actually are putting themselves in a high liability situation. So that you've got those two pieces there. Charge more, just raise your prices, or add additional services so you can get as much as you can for the service. The third one, by the way, is one that most people don't understand, and it's how do you get referred more frequently?
Right.
And there are about 5 types of groups out there. In fact, you've got the real estate agents, but you've also got mortgage lenders, you've got title companies, you've got real estate investors, and so you've got a lot of different people that can refer you as a home inspector. And a lot of people will refer you once. What do you do to get them to refer you a second time, a third time, a fourth time? My top agents at the company I work with will refer somewhere between probably, on the low side 20, but on the high side probably 40 plus inspections per year to our company. That's 3 inspections a month. And you know how much effort that takes in when I've got them in that orbit phase to just refer me over and over and over again? It's a piece of cake. But it's because we put such quality, put such service, and we bring such a unique project together. Now, what we did was when we started putting all this together, I tell them at the very beginning they need to have a map of how to outline their business, understand what motivates people to want to work with them. So we put together what we call the motivation anticipation paradigm. And it's a list of questions to help you understand how to build your company.
Al Gore, former vice president, he helped Internetgy out a lot.
Did he?
Yeah,
How was that?
He invented the internet.
Oh, well, thank God for that.
Yeah, so what about the internet? Do you, is a millionaire inspector community moving that way?
Oh, fast and hard, or hard and fast, either way you want to say it. And it's kind of like both, you know. You remember when people used to go to the Yellow Pages, right, to order things. I quit using the Yellow Pages.
I don't even own one.
Yeah, I don't either. I quit going to the Yellow Pages, and I quit advertising in them over 15 years ago.
I don't know of a single person on our message board that thinks a Yellow Page ad works at all. It doesn't even pay for the ad.
I still run across people that go, oh, well, I'm in a small town and people still use it.
Right.
But the internet is the Yellow Pages. It is where people go. I needed to have our yard mowed, and my son, I said, hey, son, it's your job to mow the yard. He said, well, can I pay someone to mow it? I said, well, yeah, if you want to do that. I said, that's fine. He went on the internet. 4 people called, boom, set it up on an automatic credit card payment. They come out and mow the yard every Friday. And
no, you got to tell me about this. Now, you got your son to pay someone to. He's allowed to pay someone else to mow.
He has a job, and you know, so
you allow him to make that business decision to sub out work.
If his time is more valuable to him
than mowing grass,
which my time is more valuable to me than mowing grass,
you should insist that he hire someone.
Well, you know, yeah, but he learned by watching me do that. You know, my wife used to joke around with me, and it's kind of funny in a little way. She said, Mike, you don't do anything yourself. I said, well, it's not true. I do a lot of things. I do speaking, and I do coaching calls. And she said, no. I mean, you don't help out around the house. You don't empty the trash. You don't mow. You don't do this. And I said, that's what we had kids for. And I said, when the kids are gone, I'm going to pay someone to do it. And she said, well, you delegate everything.
Well, yeah, you have to delegate.
You know, that's why people like us move to the next level. We know where our most valuable time can be spent, and then we spend as much of our time in that area.
How does that relate to the inspection industry?
Well, let's just take the internet, for instance, like right now, because that's what we're really talking about, is right now inspectors are trying to do a lot of things, but they're not spending any time on figuring out how to go into the internet and get business off of it.
Right.
And it was one of the things you did that drew a lot of people into your association that you just should get huge kudos over. You were one of the very first that said, hey, how many internet sites do you have up now? I mean, you have
4,500.
Yeah.
That's not including my members' sites, which we control too.
Oh, well, yeah.
Just sites that are under our control is 4,500 and about 500 million web pages in total.
Goodness gracious. And so,
on 80 servers in about 8 countries.
So, I mean, that's the reason this association grew so quickly, so fast, was you understood the power of technology. you know, I'd hate to ever think that anybody had compared you to Walt Disney, because you're not. But you're closer than you might think, in the sense that he used technology every single time to take his business to the next level. Well, I do exactly the same thing. When I came into the business, people did handwritten reports. Well, I was the first to produce like computerized reports back in 1988. The vast majority of people didn't even have computers in their homes, let alone in a vehicle.
It's almost pre-digital camera.
It was. We didn't have digital cameras back then. But when digital cameras came along, we added photos to our report. And so you use that technology all the time. Well, you did the same thing with the Internet by using that for your members in different ways.
And where's Millionaire Inspector community going with regard to the Internet?
Well, here's the big thing is we do a 3 Days of Secrets Revealed, our annual show. Our next show, every show we bring somebody in about the Internet. Our next show, which will be our 6th annual show.
And where is that?
It's in Dallas. Okay. It's usually in February each year. We make sure the Super Bowl's like done usually before we do it. And so we do that. But over 50% of our speakers this next year will be on the Internet. I mean, are you taking a look at blogging? Are you taking a look at YouTube? Are you taking a look at video on your websites? Are you taking a look at video in emails? You know, all of this technology.
I think it's all going video. I mean, we're sitting here today.
We're sitting here today. This is a perfect example, and I'm going to use it as a perfect example to the members of the Millionaire Inspector community.
Right, not just marketing, but education and information and entertainment and everything else.
Right.
I think our industry is going to very much go towards video, online video.
If I could put video in brochures, I would do that.
Yeah,
you know?
That's coming.
But yeah, it is coming.
Work on that.
But I can put video on my website, and people will stay twice as long and listen to you twice as long rather than what they would have to read if you'll put video on your websites. And all my top members are now adding video to their websites.
Well, Mike, I'm really excited about having you on the show. I understand you're going to come back in a little while.
I'm hoping to.
Okay, and do some more marketing for our members and for the inspection industry.
You know, the best thing I love about your members is that I go to a lot of shows, a lot of places, and every one of them has their uniqueness. Your uniqueness is that your guys understand the power, the necessity of marketing. And when I get up there and speak, they're like going, give me more, give me more, give me more. When I go speak some places, they're going, yeah, but, you know, what about this, or what about the liability, or what about this? And I'm going, you just don't get it yet.
Right.
The people that understand the power of marketing are the people that control the business.
And if you're a really good, strong inspector, you really do have an ethical duty to allow as many of your fellow Americans to benefit from your good works, and they can't do that unless you market.
It's exactly correct.
You have an ethical duty to market.
You know, I never tell people I was the best inspector in my marketplace, because the truth was we had some people in my marketplace that were
sharp,
really good. I mean, they knew every code, they knew every technical detail. I never wanted to be that. What I was the best at was marketing my business. And that's why I went from, you know, a mom and pop operation all the way up to 15 inspectors. And we did about $1.7 million at one point.
Excellent.
And it's because I understood the marketing. And here's the other thing, is anybody that wants to go from a single-man operation to a multi-inspector...
It's very difficult, that step.
It is a difficult step. You have to set it up. By the way, the USPs need to help you set it up. When we talked about those, you didn't hear me say, oh, I've been in the business this long, I'm a plumber. Those are USPs, but they're the wrong ones. And so you need to make sure you're careful about that. But if you can market, if you can bring that business in, you can make that phone ring, I can hire inspectors all day long as I can put the business into their pocket.
And like your son with his grass mowing job, you have to learn to delegate.
You have to learn to delegate. By the way, that's my younger son. I have 4 kids, and my older son is a third-generation home inspector. He's the first and only third-generation home inspector I even know about. I keep asking everybody. Somebody may say something off of this, but he's out there doing 2 and 3 inspections a day.
That's awesome.
So thank you for allowing us to come on. I hope it's been used to your members as well.
It has. And we'll see you next time.